I think it's not enough just for us. We just cook the food and then divide to all of us.
In the long, storied history of boxing, few encounters have carried the same fusion of glory, controversy, and redemption as the night Manny Pacquiao faced Antonio Margarito. It was more than a fight. It was a confrontation between two men whose paths embodied opposite forces in the sport. Faith versus fury, humility versus arrogance, integrity versus deceit. What unfolded inside the ring that night in Arlington, Texas, was not merely a contest of strength and skill, but a moral reckoning. A battle for the soul of boxing itself. Antonio Margarito, the rise of a relentless warrior. Before scandal consumed his legacy, Antonio Margarito was celebrated as a warrior of extraordinary toughness. Born in Tijuana, Mexico, and raised in the unforgiving world of street fights and hard gyms, Margarito learned early that pain was just another part of the job. He fought with a brutal, grinding style that seemed to wear opponents down not only physically, but spiritually. His ability to absorb punishment and keep moving forward became legendary. Fans revered his relentlessness. Rivals feared his pressure. Margarito's ascent through the welterweight division was meteoric. He dismantled fighter after fighter with relentless aggression and a suffocating pace. His first fight with Miguel Cotto in 2008 shocked the boxing world. Cotto, a polished technical boxer from Puerto Rico, entered as the favorite. But Margarito broke him down with a savage body attack, walking through Cotto's combinations and delivering punishment that grew more vicious with every round. By the 11th, Cotto's face was swollen, his rhythm shattered, his spirit exhausted. Margarito's barrage forced him to his knees, a stunning victory that crowned Margarito as one of the most dangerous men in boxing. But hidden beneath that triumph was a dark secret that would soon come to light. The hand wrap scandal, from hero to pariah. Everything changed on the night of January 24, 2009, before Margarito's scheduled fight with Shane Mosley. During the pre-fight inspection, Mosley's trainer, Nazim Richardson, noticed something suspicious about Margarito's hand wraps. Officials intervened, removing the gauze pads, and what they found stunned the sport. Embedded inside were hardened inserts coated with a plaster-like substance. When mixed with sweat, the material would dry into something nearly as solid as concrete. Plaster of Paris, a compound used in construction. In essence, Margarito had been preparing to enter the ring with weapons hidden in his gloves. The discovery triggered one of the most notorious scandals in modern boxing history. The California State Athletic Commission immediately revoked Margarito's license, and his trainer, Javier Capetillo, admitted responsibility, though Margarito himself denied any knowledge. But few believed his innocence. The implications were horrifying. If Margarito had been willing to use illegal wraps against Mosley, how long had it been happening? Was his destruction of Miguel Cotto achieved with loaded fists? The boxing world was outraged. Former fans turned their backs. Commentators called him a disgrace to the sport. Margarito's once feared name became synonymous with betrayal. He was suspended for a year, his career in ruins, his integrity shattered. In that year of exile, Margarito spoke often about redemption and renewal, insisting that he was unaware of the wraps and that his past victories were clean. But the damage was irreversible. Every punch he would ever throw from that point forward carried the weight of suspicion. Manny Pacquiao, the symbol of purity in the sport. While Margarito's reputation crumbled, halfway across the world, another fighter was becoming a global phenomenon. Manny Pacquiao, the pride of the Philippines. Pacquiao's journey was the stuff of myth. Born into poverty in General Santos City, he sold bread and donuts on the streets to survive. With nothing but heart and raw talent, he entered the ring as a teenager to earn enough to feed his family. What began as desperation became destiny. Through sheer determination, Pacquiao rose through the boxing ranks, conquering division after division, from flyweight all the way to welterweight, often defeating men who towered over him in both size and power. By 2010, he had already beaten legends Oscar de la Hoya, Ricky Hatton, and Miguel Cotto, fighters once considered untouchable. But beyond his achievements, Pacquiao represented something pure and transcendent. His discipline, humility, and faith made him not just a fighter, but a national icon and moral example. To millions, he embodied hope. Proof that greatness could come from the humblest beginnings. In contrast to Margarito's scandal, Pacquiao's integrity was untarnished. He was the sport's moral compass at a time when boxing desperately needed one. The matchup. Light against shadow. When the fight between Pacquiao and Margarito was announced for November 13, 2010, the anticipation was electric. Margarito's suspension had been lifted, and this was to be his chance at redemption. For Pacquiao, it was an opportunity to capture another world title, his 8th in a record-breaking 8th weight class, at super welterweight, 154 lbs, far above his natural fighting weight. The storyline was irresistible, the disgraced warrior seeking forgiveness versus the sport's beloved hero. But not everyone welcomed Margarito's return. Many fans and pundits called it undeserved, arguing that he had forfeited the right to compete on boxing's biggest stage. At the weigh-in, the size disparity was striking. Margarito stood 5'11", with a 6-inch reach advantage over Pacquiao, who was just 5'6", 122. The Mexican looked massive, confident, almost menacing. Pacquiao, lean and calm, smiled politely. But beneath the smile lay focus and a quiet fire that had humbled giants before. Fight night, the speed of light versus the weight of sin. When the bell rang at Cowboys Stadium, the contrast was immediate and stark. Margarito came forward as expected, applying pressure and attempting to trap Pacquiao in the corners. But Pacquiao was untouchable. From the opening seconds, his speed was otherworldly. He moved like a current of electricity, darting in and out, striking from angles Margarito couldn't anticipate. Each punch landed with precision and purpose. The Mexican tried to respond, but his heavier, slower hands couldn't find their mark. Round after round, Pacquiao's combinations painted a masterpiece of movement. 3, 4, even 5 punches at a time, delivered with surgical timing. Margarito's face began to swell by the 3rd round. By the 4th, he was bleeding. Still, Margarito refused to retreat. He kept pressing forward, swinging wildly, determined to make his size and power count. At times, he managed to back Pacquiao against the ropes, landing a few punishing body shots. But every brief success was answered with blinding flurries that re-established Pacquiao's dominance. To the crowd, it was mesmerizing. Not just a fight, but a spectacle of human ability. Pacquiao's combinations landed so fast that the audience could barely register them before he was gone again, already out of range. Margarito looked confused, battered, and helpless, the once feared executioner now the one being executed. The beating becomes brutal. By the 6th round, Margarito's right eye began to close. Pacquiao targeted it mercilessly, firing left straights and jabs that worsened the swelling. The damage accumulated fast. Still, Margarito's courage, or perhaps his stubborn pride, refused to yield. Midway through the fight, he landed a powerful body shot that momentarily doubled Pacquiao over. The crowd gasped, perhaps the only moment all night when Margarito seemed to hurt him. But within seconds, Pacquiao retaliated with a furious barrage that drove Margarito backward, proving that pain only made him sharper. The rounds dragged on. Margarito's face turned into a grotesque mask of swelling and bruises. His right eye was nearly shut, his cheekbone visibly distorted, later revealed to be fractured. Yet, unbelievably, he kept walking forward, trying to fight blind. By the 9th, commentators pleaded for the fight to be stopped. It was no longer competitive, it was punishment. But Margarito's corner refused to throw in the towel, and the referee allowed it to continue. It was a grim sight. A proud warrior taking unnecessary damage, his courage both admirable and tragic. Pacquiao's mercy. What made the fight unforgettable, however, was not only Pacquiao's dominance, but his humanity. By the 10th round, Pacquiao could see the damage he was inflicting. Between combinations, he looked at the referee, gesturing subtly as if to say, "Stop this." But no stoppage came. So, Pacquiao did something few fighters ever do in the heat of battle. He showed mercy. He continued to outclass Margarito, but began pulling his punches slightly, landing without full power. His compassion contrasted sharply with the brutality unfolding before him. When the 12th and final round arrived, Margarito's face was almost unrecognizable. Grotesquely swollen, his right eye completely shut, the other barely open. He fought on purely by instinct, driven by pride and the refusal to surrender. Pacquiao, still relentless in his precision, dominated but refrained from going for the knockout. He had already proven his point. As the final bell sounded, Pacquiao stepped back, crossed himself, and bowed. The act of a man who viewed victory as a responsibility, not a right. Aftermath. Justice delivered. The judges' scorecards told the story plainly. A unanimous decision victory for Manny Pacquiao, a near shutout on every count. But numbers could not capture the deeper meaning of what had transpired.